Did you know that it's possible to use anxiety to your advantage? Today, I'll show you how to transform this experience into an opportunity for personal growth and emotional development. At first glance, anxiety may seem like an unwelcome intruder in our lives, but by adopting a positive and encouraging perspective, we can discover valuable lessons from this complex emotion. Anxiety, often perceived as an obstacle, can become a powerful teacher. It challenges us to confront our fears, overcome limitations, and discover the inner strength that resides within each of us. Instead of resisting its effects, we can learn to use it as a constant reminder of the importance of caring for our mental health and seeking balance in our lives. Anxiety also serves as a tangible reminder of our ability to feel and experience intense emotions. By understanding it as an emotional messenger, we can delve into the exploration of underlying concerns and address them with compassion and authenticity. This process not only allows us to grow emotionally but also strengthens our resilience in the face of adversity. Harnessing anxiety as a tool for self-discovery provides an opportunity to cultivate mindfulness and self-acceptance. Instead of fighting against it, we can embrace it as an integral part of our human experience. In doing so, we become architects of our own mental strength, building a solid foundation that enables us to face challenges with greater calmness and clarity. So, the next time you feel anxiety manifesting, remember that within that storm of emotions, valuable lessons are waiting to be discovered. Learn to channel that energy into self-reflection, self-care, and personal growth. Ultimately, anxiety can become an ally on our journey toward a more fulfilling and meaningful life. First tool: alertness to dangers. Anxiety, far from being solely an emotional enigma, can be viewed from an intriguing and functional perspective, that of an innate tool that warns us of imminent dangers. This psychological phenomenon, often misunderstood as an unwelcome intruder in the peaceful abode of the mind, reveals its intrinsic utility when seen as a built-in alert system. Imagine for a moment anxiety as the silent guardian of our psyche, always attentive to environmental signals. This guardian, far from being a disruptive agent, emerges as an evolutionary ally that has allowed the human species to survive over millennia. When delving into the depth of this interpretation, anxiety ceases to be an intruder and becomes the evolutionary echo of an internal wisdom that cautions us against potential threats. In this context, anxiety presents itself as a mechanism of anticipation, an early warning system that prepares us for imminent challenges. When it unfolds before us as a wave of unease, we shouldn't see it as an insurmountable obstacle but as a reminder of our innate ability to adapt and survive. Instead of considering it an unbearable burden, we could embrace it as a loyal companion urging us to stay alert in a constantly changing world. In this way, anxiety manifests as the echo of ancestral biological wisdom, reminding us that we are connected to a lineage of beings that have faced challenges and thrived. Instead of resisting its presence, we could contemplate it as an evolutionary echo resonating in our emotions, a tool that allows us to navigate the complex web of existence. This approach invites us to reconsider anxiety not as an internal enemy but as an insightful guide accompanying us on the journey of life. Instead of seeking to suppress it, we could learn to interpret its signals, decipher the messages it sends us, and channel its energy toward constructive action. In doing so, we transform anxiety from a feared burden into a valuable ally, an internal compass guiding us through the vast territory of our experiences. From this perspective, anxiety ceases to be a mere symptom of emotional vulnerability and reveals itself as an expression of our capacity to face challenges. Embracing it as an evolutionary tool, we embark on a journey of self-discovery, exploring the depths of our psyche and unraveling the complexities of our existence. In this journey, anxiety becomes an indispensable guide, reminding us that resistance and resilience are the forces that have carried us through the ages and will continue to guide us into the uncertain future. Second tool: Motivation for action. Anxiety, at its core, reveals itself as a mobilization engine, an internal force that propels action and catalyzes decision-making. Far from being a paralyzing stigma, anxiety emerges as a dynamic ally that motivates us to explore uncharted territories and face challenges with determination. When we experience anxiety, we are not simply trapped in the clutches of restlessness, rather, we are incited to mobilize, to deploy our capabilities in response to demanding situations. Anxiety, in this sense, acts as the urgent call to action, reminding us that we are active agents in our lives and possess the ability to influence our surroundings. This dynamic perspective of anxiety invites us to reconsider it as a driving force rather than an emotional burden. When anxiety manifests, it is not merely a signal of distress, it is a reminder that we are at a crossroads demanding our attention and active participation. Instead of succumbing to the weight of worry, we can channel that anxious energy into thoughtful decisions and decisive actions. In these moments of anxiety, the clarity of purpose can emerge more intensely. The emotional discomfort accompanying anxiety can serve as a catalyst for introspection, allowing us to closely examine our goals, values, and desires. Instead of viewing anxiety as an impediment, we could appreciate it as a stimulus that propels us to evaluate our priorities and chart clear paths towards achieving our objectives. Moreover, anxiety can be a constant reminder of our capacity to adapt and grow. Each challenge we face, when approached with an active perspective, becomes an opportunity for personal development and overcoming. Anxiety, far from being a barrier, thus becomes a bridge to authenticity and self-fulfillment. Anxiety, from this perspective, transforms into a motivational drive, a constant reminder of our ability to face challenges and make decisions that shape our destiny. By recognizing its mobilizing potential, we can learn to embrace anxiety as a valuable travel companion, guiding us toward conscious action and empowering us to face the constant flow of experiences that constitute life. Third tool. Indicator of significance. Anxiety, viewed from a perspective of being an indicator of significance, reveals itself as an emotional beacon that illuminates what we truly value in our lives. Instead of being an unwanted intruder, anxiety acts as a subtle messenger urgently indicating that something of great meaning is at stake. When anxiety manifests, it is not merely an incessant echo of senseless worry. Rather, it is an emotional signal telling us that we are facing something that deeply matters to us. It could be a goal we long to achieve, a relationship we value, or a project that challenges us. In this sense, anxiety becomes an internal thermometer, measuring the underlying importance of our aspirations and commitments. Anxiety, then, stands as an indicator of emotional commitment. It reminds us that our goals are not merely abstract objectives but milestones that are intrinsically connected to our deepest emotions and values. By experiencing anxiety, we are feeling the resonance of what we consider essential in our lives, an emotional vibration urging us to pay attention and engage more deeply. Instead of seeing anxiety as a burden to endure, we could appreciate it as a sensitive guide pointing us toward what truly matters. It is a call to reflection, an opportunity to weigh our priorities and align our actions with what we value. Anxiety, in this context, acts as a constant reminder of the intrinsic connection between our emotions and our goals, guiding us towards a more authentic and meaningful life. This approach transforms anxiety from a disturbing enigma into a revealing ally. When we feel anxious, we shouldn't dismiss that experience as mere discomfort. Instead, we could inquire into what aspect of our lives is being illuminated by this emotional response. Anxiety then becomes an internal map, outlining the boundaries of our concerns and highlighting the emotional territories we consider valuable. Interpreted as an indicator of significance, anxiety urges us to look beyond momentary discomfort and recognize it as a revealing signal of our emotional priorities. By embracing this perspective, we can use anxiety as a tool to explore our deeper motivations and chart a course that reflects authenticity and meaning in our lives. Fourth tool: development of resilience. In this context, anxiety emerges as a demanding teacher, challenging us to confront and understand our emotional reactions. Each wave of unease becomes a lesson in the complexity of our own emotions and, in turn, an opportunity to cultivate resilience. Learning to navigate through anxious currents involves developing a deeper relationship with our own psyche, a connection that becomes fundamental in building a solid emotional foundation. Resilience, in this context, is not simply the ability to withstand emotional pressures, but the skill of transforming anxiety into a constructive resource. Anxiety, far from being a symptom to evade, becomes the raw material with which we sculpt our emotional strength. By facing anxious tensions with a growth perspective, we transform anxiety into an ally that contributes to the development of resilience nurtured by a profound understanding of our own emotional responses. This metamorphosis of anxiety into resilience is not a simple process, but it is inherently valuable. Through the confrontation and understanding of our anxieties, we develop internal strategies to face adversities more effectively. Each anxious experience becomes a laboratory of self-discovery, where we test and adjust the tools that will enable us to resist and adapt in the future. Anxiety, then, stands as fertile ground for personal flourishing. Instead of being feared, anxiety is embraced as an opportunity for emotional growth. This shift in perspective allows us to strip anxiety of its paralyzing power and transform it into a driving force propelling our journey toward resilience. By understanding that anxiety can be shaped to strengthen rather than weaken, we become architects of our own emotional resilience. Anxiety, ultimately, becomes a constant reminder of our capacity to adapt, learn, and grow through emotional storms. Instead of being seen as insurmountable barriers, anxious experiences are transformed into opportunities to cement resilience, building a solid foundation that allows us not only to withstand but to flourish in the complex landscape of life. Fifth tool: promotes authenticity. When anxiety manifests in response to situations that threaten our authenticity, it is not simply a bothersome echo of insecurity but a valuable indicator that we are at the crossroads of our true essence. Anxiety then becomes an emotional signal inviting us to take a closer look at the alignment between our actions and our authentic identity. This process of anxious introspection becomes an opportunity for authenticity. Instead of fleeing from discomfort, we can embrace anxiety as a signal that we are being called to be truer to ourselves. Each anxious wave acts as a reminder that, in those moments of tension, we are presented with the opportunity to align with our deepest values and principles. Anxiety, then, becomes a catalyst for self-exploration. It drives us to question our motivations and examine whether our actions genuinely reflect who we are. By viewing anxiety as a motivational agent, we recognize that this emotional discomfort is not an impediment but an invitation to authenticity, to be more congruent with our true beliefs and desires. This approach liberates us from the burden of anxiety, transforming it from a disturbing enigma into an ally on the path to authenticity. Instead of seeing anxiety as an obstacle, we appreciate it as an internal compass guiding us toward our true essence. Anxiety then becomes a tool for discovering and expressing who we are in a world that constantly challenges us to be authentic. By embracing anxiety as a means to foster authenticity, we become conscious architects of our own integrity. Anxiety ceases to be merely an indicator of distress and becomes a valuable ally in the journey of self-discovery and self-reflection. Instead of succumbing to fear, we use anxiety as a guide to navigate the territories of our authenticity, building a path that reflects the true essence of who we are. Sixth tool: awareness of the environment. When perceived as a tool, anxiety unfolds a fascinating connection with our awareness of the environment. Far from being merely an emotional disturbance, anxiety manifests as a catalyst that sharpens our attention and sensitivity to the world around us. This phenomenon not only reflects an emotional response but also presents an opportunity to explore how anxiety can enrich our relationship with the environment. When anxiety emerges, internal mechanisms are triggered, placing us in a state of heightened alertness. This acute attention allows us to grasp details that, in more peaceful situations, might go unnoticed. Anxiety, in this sense, acts as a tuner of our senses, enabling us to tune into important signals and details that could be crucial for our adaptation and survival. This intensification of environmental awareness is not limited to sensory perception but also extends to a greater receptivity to emotional and social dynamics. Anxiety can become an emotional barometer that connects us more intimately with the subtleties of human behavior and the complexities of interpersonal relationships. Instead of being an obstacle to connection, anxiety can be seen as a facilitator that invites us to be more present and better understand the fabric of human interactions. Furthermore, anxiety can act as a constant reminder of the interconnection between our emotional state and the surrounding environment. This phenomenon prompts reflection on how our emotions, rather than being isolated entities, are intrinsically intertwined with the context in which we live. Anxiety, in this context, encourages us to explore not only our emotional response but also the circumstances that trigger it, providing us with a more comprehensive understanding of our experience in the world. This heightened awareness of the environment, induced by anxiety, can be seen as an adaptive tool that has evolved to provide an advantage in survival. Instead of considering anxiety as an inconvenience, we can appreciate it as an intrinsic reminder of our vital connection to the world we inhabit. Ultimately, when interpreted as a driver of environmental awareness, anxiety invites us to explore how we can use this tool to enrich our understanding of the world around us. By recognizing anxiety as a beacon that illuminates our relationship with the environment, we can integrate it as a valuable guide that helps us be more alert, receptive, and conscious in the intricate tapestry of everyday life. Seventh tool: performance enhancement. Have you ever wondered how anxiety, that often uncomfortable sensation, could have a positive side in our daily lives? Surprisingly, in appropriate doses, anxiety can play a role in improving performance. When we experience anxiety at manageable levels, our body responds by activating a series of mechanisms that, instead of hindering, can boost our performance. Imagine anxiety as a spark that ignites an inner flame, providing us with that extra boost of energy and concentration that we sometimes need to face our daily responsibilities. This phenomenon has a lot to do with how our brain interprets anxiety. In small amounts, it acts as a subtle reminder that what we are about to tackle is meaningful to us. This awareness can translate into increased attention and focus, allowing us to approach tasks with a mental clarity we might not otherwise have. It is crucial to understand that we are talking about controlled anxiety, the kind that does not overwhelm or paralyze us. In those moments when we feel a slight discomfort, that's when anxiety can act as an ally rather than an obstacle. It propels us to overcome challenges, make informed decisions, and deploy our skills more effectively. However, like anything in life, balance is essential. Too much anxiety can lead us down a different path, hindering our performance and negatively affecting our mental and physical health. Therefore, learning to recognize limits and manage anxiety becomes a crucial skill to harness its benefits without falling into its traps. Anxiety, in appropriate doses, can be a positive driver to enhance our performance. It's not about avoiding it altogether but understanding how to channel it productively. In this process of self-discovery and self-regulation, we find the key to turning anxiety into an ally on our journey toward success and well-being. Eighth tool: stimulus for creativity. Imagine anxiety as an internal compass, a force that, in moderation, propels us toward creativity. Contrary to what we might think, anxiety is not always the enemy. Sometimes, it is the silent friend that challenges us to think outside the box. When anxiety presents itself not as a terrifying monster but as a companion reminding us that we face a challenge, that's when creative magic begins to take shape. In those moments when we feel the pressure increasing, our minds are compelled to explore unfamiliar territories, seek innovative solutions, and think of different ways to approach problems. There's an old saying that goes, necessity is the mother of invention, and anxiety, in the right measure, acts as that necessity. It is a reminder that we are facing a problem that requires our attention and creativity. Just as the farmer knows that a drought requires more ingenious irrigation methods, when we feel anxiety, we are guided toward the search for fresh ideas and solutions that we might not have considered otherwise. However, like any powerful tool, anxiety must be handled with care. Too much pressure can extinguish the creative spark instead of fueling it. It's like the saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. The key is to recognize when anxiety becomes overwhelming and threatens to stifle our creative capacity. In those moments, we must take steps to lighten the burden and allow creativity to flow more freely. Anxiety, when approached with respect and understanding, can be a catalyst for creativity. Instead of fearing it, we learn to see it as a signal that propels us to explore new perspectives and find innovative solutions. By integrating anxiety as a travel companion, we discover the richness of our creative ability and how we can turn challenges into opportunities to shine. Ninth tool. Facilitates conscious decision-making. To understand this point better, let's use a short story. Imagine you're in a bustling market full of tempting choices. In front of you, there is a myriad of products, each claiming to be the perfect choice. In this array of possibilities, you feel a spark of anxiety. How do you decide what to take with you? This anxiety, far from being an obstacle, becomes your thoughtful guide. Now, let's apply this experience to the realm of everyday decision-making. Anxiety, in moderation, acts as a reminder that our choices have consequences. It's not a fearsome dictator but an advisor urging us to carefully evaluate our options before taking the next step. In this journey of decisions, there is an old proverb that tells us, think twice before acting. Anxiety invites us to embrace this wise advice. It drives us to reflect on our choices, consider the different paths opening up before us, and weigh the potential consequences of our actions. Imagine you're facing a fork in the road, and anxiety appears as a beacon, illuminating the options before you. This moment of reflection, far from being a hindrance, becomes an opportunity to make more conscious decisions. Anxiety teaches us that haste is often the enemy of wisdom and that taking time for reflection can be the compass guiding us toward choices more aligned with our values and goals. Anxiety, when approached with a conscious perspective, can be an ally in the decision-making process. Instead of rushing into impulsive choices, it urges us to carefully assess our options, weigh the consequences, and choose the path that resonates most with our long-term vision. In this way, anxiety transforms from a burden into a friendly reminder of the importance of our decisions in creating our own path. 10th tool. Encourages self-reflection. Let's delve into the tapestry of anxiety from another angle, exploring how this complex emotion can become a beacon that illuminates the depths of our being. Imagine you find yourself on a cloudy day, and suddenly, an emotional storm unleashes within you. Anxiety, in this context, becomes the key that opens the door to self-reflection. As human beings, we navigate an ocean of emotions, thoughts, and behaviors. Anxiety, when presented in moderation, serves as a reminder that there is an inner world deserving of our attention. It invites us to dive into the waters of our emotions, examine our deepest thoughts, and observe how these behavior patterns influence our everyday life. In this journey towards self-reflection, we encounter an ancient saying, know thyself. Anxiety nudges us toward this ancestral wisdom. It urges us to look beyond the surface, question our motivations, and explore the roots of our emotions. Instead of being mere discomfort, anxiety becomes a catalyst for self-awareness. Self-reflection, guided by anxiety, allows us to discover recurring patterns in our thinking and behavior. It acts as a mirror that shows us facets of ourselves we might sometimes prefer to overlook. However, in this process, we learn to accept those parts of ourselves, understand how they contribute to our experience, and cultivate a deeper sense of connection with our own humanity. When approached with a reflective gaze, anxiety becomes a beacon that illuminates the darkest corners of our being. Instead of fearing it, we use it as a tool to explore our inner world, fostering self-awareness and understanding ourselves on a deeper level. Anxiety, far from being just a storm, transforms into a guide on our journey toward authenticity and connection with our true essence. Tool 11. Promotes empathy. Let's change the perspective and immerse ourselves in the experience of anxiety from the prism of empathy. Imagine you are walking on a trail, and suddenly, you encounter rugged terrain that generates a feeling of anxiety. Now, let's translate this metaphor to the emotional realm and examine how anxiety can become a bridge to empathy. When anxiety manifests, it not only plunges us into our own internal struggles but also sensitizes us to the battles others are fighting. It's as if we are sharing the same path, each facing our own obstacles. Anxiety, in this context, acts as a reminder that we are all connected by the human experience, and each of us has our own version of challenging paths to traverse. An old saying tells us, "Don't judge someone until you've walked a mile in their shoes." Anxiety puts us in those shoes, allowing us to feel the discomfort and uncertainty that others may be experiencing. Instead of separating us, anxiety becomes a bridge that connects us through our shared vulnerabilities. Empathy, cultivated through anxiety, enables us to see beyond outward appearances and understand that every person we encounter is fighting their own internal battles. It teaches us to be understanding, to offer support without judgment, and to recognize that, although circumstances may differ, the range of human emotions is universal. Instead of isolating ourselves in our own challenges, it connects us with others by reminding us that everyone faces moments of anxiety. Through this connection, empathy is born, building bridges between individual experiences and fostering a deeper sense of community in understanding on the shared journey of life. Tool 12. Signal of unmet needs. Let's journey through the pathway of anxiety, exploring how it acts as a messenger knocking on the door of our unmet needs. Visualize this as a journey through a forest where each feeling of anxiety is like a sign, indicating that something within us requires attention and care. Anxiety, in this sense, is not just an emotional burden but a call for attention. It's like a beacon in the darkness, signaling areas of our lives that need to be illuminated and explored more deeply. As an old saying goes, necessity is the mother of invention, and anxiety urges us to unleash our creativity to address those unmet needs. Imagine you are in the midst of this emotional forest, and anxiety acts as a guide, leading you to those places where your fundamental needs cry out for recognition. By recognizing anxiety as an indicator, you can begin to delve deep within yourself to identify which needs are not being met. This journey of self-discovery is not an easy path, but anxiety, at its core, is a willing travel companion ready to show the way. It reminds us that the quest for solutions to meet our needs is a fundamental part of the human experience. It's like an internal compass that guides us towards self-reflection and conscious action. Instead of fearing it, we use anxiety as a tool to explore areas of our lives that require attention and action. Anxiety, far from being an obstacle, transforms into an ally that propels us to seek solutions and meet those fundamental needs that make us human. Tool 13. Indicator of personal progress. Let's envision anxiety as an echo on the path of our personal progress. Each time we feel that slight unease, it's as if the universe is sending us a signal that we are in motion, moving toward new horizons and challenges. In this journey of self-improvement, anxiety presents itself as an indicator that we are stepping out of our comfort zone. It's like the crackling in a campfire that reminds us we are exploring unknown territories. An old saying tells us that there is no growth in the comfort zone, and anxiety, at its core, points out that we are expanding the limits of what we know. Visualize anxiety as a travel companion whispering in our ear every time we face a new opportunity. Instead of seeing it as an obstacle, we interpret it as confirmation that we are making decisions that drive our personal development. Every challenge that evokes anxiety is a testament to our courage to confront the unknown. Tool 14: Mastering Adaptability. In this vast stage of existence, anxiety emerges as an intriguing chapter that, far from being an obstacle, reveals itself as a master of adaptability. In the constant flow of life, the ability to navigate the turbulent waters of uncertainty becomes an invaluable skill, and it is precisely anxiety that provides us with the opportunity to cultivate this ability. Let's imagine anxiety as the wind that rustles the leaves of a tree, reminding us that stability is not always the key to growth. It's like a dissonant melody inviting us to tune into our adaptability skills. In this sense, anxiety becomes a muse that inspires us to dance with the inevitable changes of life, to embrace the constant metamorphosis that defines our existence. Learning to handle anxiety is like tuning an instrument in a chaotic concert. It teaches us to tune our emotions, to recognize dissonant notes, and to harmonize with the ever-changing symphony that is life. In doing so, we develop the ability to bend without breaking, to adapt gracefully to the variations of the script that existence presents us. In this journey of self-discovery, we encounter an ancient saying, "He who adapts, survives." Anxiety, in its role as a master of adaptability, leads us to reflect on this ancestral wisdom. It shows us that resilience is not in rigidity but in flexibility, not in clinging to the past but in flowing with the present and anticipating the future with confidence. When faced with anxiety-inducing situations, we are challenged to question our perceptions, explore new perspectives, and adjust our internal compass. It's as if anxiety were a catalyst that awakens our latent adaptation skills, a wake-up call to evolve beyond our comfort zones and embrace the complexity of life with courage and openness. Anxiety, far from being simply an emotional burden, stands as a magisterial instructor of adaptability. As we learn to ride the waves of uncertainty, we discover that anxiety is an ally in the perpetual dance of changes and challenges. By accepting its presence, not as an enemy but as a guide, we unlock the door to a world where adaptability becomes a driving force for our growth and development. Anxiety, in its complexity, transforms into a vital force propelling our capacity to adapt and thrive in the ceaseless flow of life. Translation to English. As we reach the end of this journey, I want to thank you for joining me in this exploration of how to view anxiety as a tool. I hope this journey has shed light on the idea that, beyond being an obstacle, anxiety can be a valuable tool for our growth and well-being. Remember, anxiety is not an enemy to defeat but a fellow traveler inviting us to reflect, adapt, be empathetic, and explore the depths of ourselves. By changing our perspective, we transform anxiety into a powerful tool that propels our personal evolution. I invite you to carry this new approach with you and share it with those who may benefit from seeing anxiety as an ally rather than an adversary. May this knowledge inspire you to embrace the complexities of life with greater confidence and resilience. Thank you for dedicating your time to this conversation. May your journey be filled with self-discovery, adaptability, and growth. Until next time, and remember, anxiety can be the key that opens doors to a more conscious and fulfilling future.